Hey guys, welcome back. In our last video, if you have observed carefully, in the end, in order to bring these two containers right below here, as you can see clearly, that there is some gap, right? So to reduce it, what I did is I selected the whole container, parent container, and I reduced the size, minimum height size, right? So, but what if there is a design constraint that you have to have a fixed height of a particular container, but at the same time you don't want this particular gap? So what will you do? In that case, what you need to do is select this whole container and scroll down. Rows and columns gap, we have removed it, but anyways, so even if we reduce it to 0, this between each row there is this huge gap, right? So what to do in this case is, here you have this option called as align content, right? So here, by using this align content property, all you need to do is select this and click on start. That's it. Align content works with cross axis over here, right? In this particular case, align content property is working with cross axis. Cross axis because the direction is, flex direction is set to horizontal, or say row. So in that case, align content property is also working in the cross axis. Align items is also working in the cross axis. Justify content is working along the main axis, right? So yeah, align content start. This will end all these gap between the wrapped content. Anyways, so let's wind up this particular section. Let's move on. Today's video will be discussing about flex direction vertical. In our last video, we have learned about flex direction horizontal, and in this video we are going to learn about flex direction vertical. What will happen if flex direction is vertical? So let me simply duplicate the whole container here, and what I'll do is I'll select this whole container, and first thing is I'll change the background color so that we can differentiate between both containers. Yeah, this is fine. And now let's change the direction of this particular container. Right now it is x-axis, x-axis, and this is horizontal, set to row. So I'll go back to the layouts tab and click on vertical. So now what happened here is, as you can see, all the items got stacked on top of each other. So here what is happening, flex direction is set to row, flex direction is set to column. So all the content, all the container or item or widget, whatever you will be adding, it will stack on top of each other in a sequence, right? Vertical sequence, just like a column. And what is cross axis? This is cross axis. So what is main axis? This is main axis. So if this is main axis, what we have learned, justify content will work with main axis and align items will work on cross axis. Justify content here will decide whether the items should be on top, center, or bottom. Here, justify content was deciding whether the item has to be left, center, or right. But here, justify content property will work differently. Here, justify content will decide whether the items or widgets or elements within this particular container should be on top, center, or bottom. And the same way here, this is cross axis, right? So cross axis, if this is the cross axis, then align item property will decide whether the item should be on left, center, or right. So let's see this thing in action. Let's minify this. Perfect. So there are, I think there are so many containers here, so in that case you will not be able to clearly visualize it. So let me reduce few containers here. Even if I change the properties and stuff, you will not see any major changes. That's the reason we need to have some gap, right? So in order to exactly see what's happening over here. So let me remove, right, because the minimum height required for this particular container is 500 pixels, and this particular container, child container, height is not set, I think, right? So maybe we can set it to 100 pixels, and this as well for 100 pixels, right? Perfect. By default, all by default, if I select this whole parent container, right now the direction is set to vertical. Perfect. So now if you see here, justify content is deciding whether the content should be on top, center, or bottom. Whereas here, if you select this container, justify container is deciding whether the content should be on left, center, or right. This is the place, this is the point where all the students or everyone or all of you, whoever is new to Flexbox, will get confused, because here in one section, one container, justify content is deciding whether the content should be in left, center, or right. But if you see here, the justify content property is deciding whether the content has to be on top, center, or bottom. That's the reason I explained you this whole concept of main axis, cross axis. Maybe I repeated several times. You might also have thought that I should have just mm, used shortcut or simply gave some random examples and just quickly moved on. But no, I know if you have watched the videos from the start, right, you by now clearly understand that what is main axis, what is cross axis. Wherever the flex direction is row, this is main axis, and if this is main axis, justify content will work on main axis. So justify content will decide whether the content has to be on left, center, or right. But here in this case, as soon as we set the flex direction to the column, uh, main axis is this one, vertical, so justify content will work on main axis only. So justify content here will decide whether the content has to be on top, center, or bottom, right? So that is what we are able to see here. So if you select this one, justify content is deciding whether the content has to be on top, center, or bottom. And what if you want to change the alignment of these particular items horizontally? Horizontally, what is the axis? X axis. So x axis is the horizontal axis. So that is the cross axis, right? So if that is the cross axis, then align items we need to check. Align items will decide whether the content has to be on left, center, or right. Let's select. It's not changing. Let me quickly see. Let me refresh and see. Okay, so this is working here. So here the align items will work. So if you select this section right now, justify content will work on top, center, bottom, and at the same time align items will work for left, center, right. So if I click on center, it will go to center and right. If you click on update, if you check the preview, right, here these containers, we are not able to see it clearly because that's because there is no content inside it, and we haven't specified height of these child containers, right? That's the reason. So let's say if we select 100, let's add some gap, right? So if you click on update, perfect. So anyways, we are talking about container which is having direction set to vertical or column, right? So yeah, perfect. So now the section gaps is set to 10. We can reduce it to 1 or 5 or 10. right? So anyways, you have this clear understanding. If you scroll down now, we have this property called as wrap. So wrap property was it made sense here when the direction is set to horizontal. In that case, the width of screen is fixed, right? So but here, if you see here, the direction is set to vertical, so the height of this particular parent container is not fixed. Obviously minimum height is set to 500, but there is no maximum height parameter set for this particular container. In case there is maximum height parameter set for this particular container, in that case, if you go ahead and select wrap, what will happen is this will be default here. So what will happen is the containers will wrap again here, 1 2 3 4 5, and then 1 2 3 4 5, and then 1 2 3 4 5, and then 1 2 3 4 5, right? So this way the wrapping works. You already have seen how it works here, but to demonstrate it, we will have to set this particular parent container's height to be fixed, but we don't have option to set fixed height for this container, I guess. So anyways, the height will keep on increasing if you add more containers, right? So here, as soon as there is this one thing that you want, I would like to emphasize here is, if you set no wrap property, you won't get align content option here, but only when you select wrap, enable the wrap, you get this align content property. So align content property will work default, center, start, end, right? So here, why this is working horizontally, because align content property always works on cross section. So for this container, what is cross section? This for this container, main axis is this one, and this is cross axis. So cross axis align content is also works for cross axis only. So that's the reason it is working horizontally, right? If you want to double check that, double check whether the align content property works on cross axis or not, you can simply select this particular container, and here the main axis is horizontal, cross axis is vertical. So if cross axis is vertical, align content property should also work vertically, right? So it is obviously working, you know, vertically, right? So this is it for this video. I think you have your concept regarding the flex containers is absolutely clear so far, right? There are some advanced concepts like align, self, order, and size. These are the three things that we'll be covering in our next video. But for now, we have understood how to work with parent container, how to work with child container, and how to make sure we achieve the exact alignment as desired. So when do we use uh, flex direction as row, when do we use flex direction as column, and what is the difference, everything we have seen. So here there is one more point is, like, let's say if you don't define the width of each particular container here, what you can do is you can simply set to percentage and make it 100, so it will take entire space. And this particular container, you can just make it uh, in pixel, we can just keep it 600, right? This way we can go ahead and change the width of each what you say container. And if in case this particular parent container height is fixed, in that case, and also if we set the wrap property enabled, then these other containers will wrap around this these bigger mm, containers as well. Not here, but here it will wrap it. Anyways, I hope this concept is clear, and in our next video we'll cover these advanced three concepts: align, self, order, and size. We will be using in order to rearrange the items and grow, shrink. Let's see. I'll explain it in detail in our next video. I'll not stretch this video longer, right? So thank you very much for watching. Have a great day. We'll see you in the next video. Thank you.